Honourable Senators, North Terrace in my state's capital is considered by many as one of the world's most beautiful boulevards. As you stroll down its wide footpaths, shaded by the plane trees, and gaze upon the buildings that support so much of our cultural life in the city, you arrive at the National War Memorial. At the memorial's unveiling on Anzac Day in 1931, Governor Sir Alexander Hall Ruthven addressed the large crowd. He said, "It is not only for ourselves that we have erected this visible remembrance of great deeds, but rather that those who come after us and have not experienced the horrors of war or realised the wanton destruction and utter futility of it all may be inspired to devise some better means to settle international disputes other than by international slaughter." This memorial is the seal of South Australia's homage to her sons, who in the ranks of the brave company from all parts of the Empire gave their lives during the Great War. Tragically, he would later in life experience the same sense of inconsolable loss, for his son Patrick fell to the enemy in World War II. Each lead-up to Remembrance Day, crosses are placed on the lawn nearby. The creation of the Field of Remembrance is curated by the RSL. School children and veterans place the crosses in memory of the dead. It is a beautiful, moving and reflective custom of community remembrance for those that fell in battle. Yesterday, these crosses were despoiled. This act of sacrilege is heartbreaking, especially to those of us who have spent time in the service of our nation. It's difficult to understand or even conceive of the motivation for this crime. It is disrespectful to the dead and those that seek to remember their sacrifice. This pitiful act pollutes the community's time of quiet reflection on their missing sons and daughters, buried often in unmarked graves in foreign fields. I am particularly distressed by the theft of the crosses planted in memory of the Poles, who were cut down fighting with the Allies to defeat the Nazi regime and free their country from slavery. I would like to think that the perpetrator or perpetrators, having reflected on their sins, come forward and repent, but I suspect we will not hear from them. There was a time when we could leave churches unlocked for prayer and reflection. Memorials and cemeteries could confidently be left unattended. I would like to think that we can return to this state. Perhaps the answer lies in the education of our youth in better understanding not just our history, but also an appreciation of the sacred. But today we so often have to bear witness to vandalism and theft. We live in a society where we find some who are unable or unwilling to respect what others hold as sacred. This vile act of desecration spears at the very heart of the purpose of the building of the memorial and the annual ceremony of the planting of the crosses. That is, the quiet reflection on the lives lost. The memorial depicts the willingness of youth to answer the call of duty and the extent of the sacrifices which they made for us. The work of Rainer Hoff does not display a material victory, rather a victory of the spirit. While we do not need to build another memorial, we can still remember by planting crosses for the dead. This is a simple act motivated by love. Ahead of Remembrance Day tomorrow, I acknowledge the debt each and every one of us owes to those that fell in battle for the freedoms we now enjoy. I pay tribute to the families that had to cope with unimaginable loss and sorrow. I will conclude with the words of the mother of Patrick Hall Ruthven. In the preface to a compilation of her son's poetry, the Countess of Gary writes, "Many wives have seen their husbands, many parents have seen their sons go out to fight, to meet beyond the reach of the love that has always sheltered them. Dangers more universal and more terrible than any our race has before experienced. Knowing too how fearlessly they face their future world, we believe that they, with many of their gallant companions, are among the very brave, the very true, and we feel that they are trying to reach us and give us a greater understanding, lest we forget.